let's get to my dark horse for week 12 of the fantasy football season, and that is none other than someone who I've been highly touting over the last few weeks in disgust of Jacob. Now, obviously, he's going to come out and say he's not completely down on this guy, but I'm pinning the narrative that he is. And that is Christian Watson, wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers. Listen, there's something in life, and it's this. You ride the hot hand. You are riding the hot hand of Christian Watson this week as they go into Philadelphia to take on a very favorable but stingy Philadelphia defense. And what I mean by that is Darius Slay is one of the best cornerbacks in the league. He's going to be covering Allen Lazard for the most part. Who does that leave opportunities for? None other than the wide receiver 2 for the Green Bay Packers, Christian Watson. Stop looking at me, Jacob. It just feels so weird. I just feel like I have eyes all over me.
How do you think that, like, Joe Buck and Troy Aikman feel? That's Dude, how we are right now, man. You got to maintain. Or I got to look at the camera and smile.
I thought I could do that, like, my whole life. I thought I could
now,
be journaling.
Now you're not sure?
No, this is not for me. I don't like people looking at me like this.
I guess I can then.
I guess you're more cut out for it. Anyways, I love Christian Watson this week. I currently have him, and we're going to get into it. We're going to get into our rankings because oftentimes when we clip up these videos and we post them out there and we get all these wonderful comments and we have you guys to appreciate that for it. I get these weird scenarios where you're like, oh, so you're saying I should start this guy over Christian Watson? And no, I'm not saying that. If you look at my rankings this week, which again, I said we will in just a little bit, I have him currently as a wide receiver 28. So there are 27 other guys that I like more than Christian Watson. I think it puts him into a nice flex play range this week. Yes, the news came out that Aaron Rodgers has the broken thumb. I don't think it's his throwing hand. I would like confirmation on that. We'll look it up in a minute here. But I love his usage around the goal line. In the last 2 weeks, he leads the NFL in red zone targets. That's 4. And you might be thinking, well, wait, he had 3 touchdowns in one game. But in week of 10, those were 2 bombs. So technically those weren't red zone targets. But we saw even last week, those targets that he got around the goal line were substantial. Not only that, one thing I really did love about that game, though, is that his first goal line target was literally a screen pass like 5 yards out, and he absolutely muffed it. Touched his hands. He did this weird, awkward contortion. Nobody was even guarding him, and he just dropped the ball and fell flat on his face. It was the weirdest thing. The very next play, runs a slant right across the end zone from side to side, and Rodgers finds him. It shows me that even though he's capable of dropping passes, because we've seen that. We've seen him drop a number of passes so far. But even knowing that he's making mistakes, Aaron Rodgers still believes in him, and we saw that 2 more times in that game, and that resulted in 2 touchdowns. Was it the 3 touchdown performance that we saw 2 weeks prior? No, but it was 2 touchdown performances. It was a 2 touchdown performance. And guess what? This week, can we get a 1 touchdown performance? Like, is it a regression? Maybe. What I also like is that we saw his usage really ramp up in the fourth quarter when the game was on the line, when the Green Bay Packers were making their push to get back into things. It wasn't Allen Lazard. It was Christian Watson. He saw 3 targets in the fourth quarter alone, all on that last drive. And I just think that means Aaron Rodgers really is leaning on him. He's leaning on his ability to stretch the field, to get the ball downfield. And he's 6'2", 6'3", so he's leaning on that presence in the end zone as well. All of those paint a narrative that shows that his input is here to stay. His production is here to stay. Although minimal, he saw 8 targets in that game where he caught the 3 bombs. He only saw 5 targets last week. But if those targets are end zone targets, then I'm counting on one of those to at least be a touchdown. And I think that can happen. His sleeper projection currently right now is 11 fantasy points. I think he can easily buff that. I'm going 13 or more. That's a fine flex play. Jacob, I'll let you have your thoughts while I go ahead and talk about some guys that are going to be, better options. Or why do I always mess that up? Even when we're live, how do I mess it up? But I'm going to look at some guys that I think are
comparable, but
in far less favorable matchups as opposed to Christian Watson.
I see. No, look, Gabe and I had some behind-the-scenes debates about Christian Watson and Kadarius Toney. Obviously, that's no longer a debate anymore. Kadarius Toney's injured. Like, we don't know if he's even going to play this week. That's fine. But I was never been a Christian Watson hater. I actually really believed in him coming into dynasty drafts. I liked the guy. I just didn't know how much longer Aaron Rodgers was going to play. But he's looking to be proving that he was a good pick for them in the second round of the NFL draft. And Aaron Rodgers did say something recently. I don't know the exact quote, but he said that what they were expecting from a guy like Christian Watson at the beginning of the season, they're getting now. And you got to remember, this guy faced multiple injuries throughout this season and multiple times. So, and he came back and played, and he got injured again and came back and played. And now he's finally looking like he's going to stay healthy. And we're seeing what the result of him having some time to build some chemistry with Aaron Rodgers. And then the fact that he went back to him after that dropped, I think it was a touchdown, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dropped touchdown. And he went back to him multiple times. And that just shows like, hey, you don't see Aaron Rodgers, have that amount of trust in a first-year player right away that quickly. Even with Devontae Adams, it took him a few years to build chemistry. So I think Aaron Rodgers knows he doesn't have all the time in the world. So he needs to speed that process up. And I think we're seeing the result of that. So great call on Christian Watson. I think he's viable for a good game as long as he stays healthy for the rest of the season.
Fair enough. Good points. I wanted to talk about some guys that I would play him over. Did I say it right?
I think so.
Yeah, I think I did. I like him better than Darius Slayton this week. Tyler Boyd, his counterpart, Alan Lazard. I like him better than Cortland Sutton, wide receiver for the Denver Broncos. Joshua Palmer, he's been balling out, but if Mike Williams comes back and he's healthy this week, I like him better than I like him better than Joshua Palmer. I probably wouldn't go as far as like that guys that I kind of have in this range, but I think those are a fair number of choices of guys who I'd rather sit and start Christian Watson over this week. And I'm glad that you're kind of along for the ride. I thought you were going to disagree with that. I know we had some distaste there, some disagreements between Tony and Christian Watson. It hasn't panned out for Kadarius Toney. It looks like it's panning out for Christian Watson. So you need to ride the wave. And I'm telling you to ride the wave this week. Week 12, dark horse of the week, Christian Watson, wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers.